Just how significant was it for the court's term that Justice Scalia passed away, leaving them with just 8 justices rather than 9?
Well, it was significant, of course, but in ways different than most people think, in the sense that obviously his passing cast a pall, put a black ribbon, metaphorically speaking, on the term. Most terms, journalists, pundits strain to concoct some sort of theme about the court's turn to the left or the right or some other sort of way to combine disparate cases into a narrative. Well, here there actually was a theme, and that is the shock and then the effect and the court dealing with the change, and in a presidential election year, which is a very strange time to be dealing with this sort of event. But in practical terms, regarding the cases that were on the court's docket this term, his vote wouldn't really have made a difference in almost anything. The one major one where it would have is a case called Friedrichs versus California Teachers Association, which involved workers' rights who are non-members of unions in the public sector, whether they can be forced to pay, nevertheless, a portion of the union dues that go towards collective bargaining. And we can debate that case if you're interested. I thought if Scalia had been there, those laws would have been struck down, and they're in place in about half the country. We have a natural experiment. 25 states have them, 25 don't. Scalia's vote would have struck it down. Without him, the 4-4 split affirmed the lower court, so they still stand. But apart from that one case, when you think about it, big surprise in the affirmative action case. Kennedy, for the first time, upheld a use of racial preferences. He's never done that. He's never closed the door, but he's never actually found a program that he likes until this one. But that ruling was 4-3. If Scalia had been there, it would have been 4-4. The lower court still would have been affirmed. The program still would have been in place. We wouldn't have had an opinion, but the opinion is less significant than the actual result. The abortion case, Whole Women's Health, that ruling was 5-3. Again, Kennedy joining with the liberals. If Scalia had been there, it would have been 5-4, same result. The immigration case ended up 4-4. President Obama's executive actions on immigration. I was pretty involved in that, filing briefs all the way through, generally on behalf of people who support immigration reform, but who believe that it takes a lot to change a law. Anyhow, big controversy. The court split 4-4, leaving in place the block, the injunction that the lower courts had put in. With Scalia there, it would have been 5-4, with an opinion leaving in place the injunction. So again, for practical purposes, all of these big cases that you can look at, Scalia's vote really didn't make directly that much impact. It would have had an impact in terms of his writing in certain ways, certainly would have changed the media coverage and the so-called narrative that people would have been describing. But as I said, other than that one worker rights case, come to think of it, there were only 4-4 splits, those narrow splits, the exact split where the court does not issue an opinion. And there were only 4 5-3 or 4-3 cases where his vote might have had some effect, but not necessarily. So going forward, obviously his vote and his pen make a significant impact, and already we're seeing the types and the numbers of cases that the court is putting on its docket for next term. That's slowed down, and they're not really taking controversial cases. But directly for this term, his passing, as I said, has not had as much of an impact as a lot of people might think.